All right, so this is interactive concept 6, and what we are going to do here today is create a pasta rocket, or rather we're going to be creating a reaction with yeast, hydrogen peroxide, and pasta, and fire. So what's going to be happening is we're going to be putting hydrogen peroxide in our glass bottle here first. So I have a glass container with a hole in the top here, and I removed the little frame so that it isn't so tightly woven in there, because we're going to be releasing oxygen so that it could explode if it got too tight. So I have hydrogen peroxide. I'm going to fill it about 1/8. Yeah, about 1/8 full in there. And then I'm going to add my yeast. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of yeast in here. Alright, so I'm going to add my yeast. And I'm going to cover this. And I'm going to swirl it up just to get that reaction going. You can see those oxygen bubbles coming off of the yeast already. And then I'm taking my pasta, which is going to act as a second source of fuel. And hopefully it stands up. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to take the lighter and actually light the pasta. So the pasta is acting as a secondary fuel source. Alright. Hopefully this lights on its own. So this is the solid fuel, is the pasta. Oh, there it goes, very lightly. No. Might not be enough oxygen. There it goes. It's lit. It's just not very strong. And that's probably because there is some oxygen escaping underneath my pasta. I don't have a perfectly flat piece of ziti here. I actually have penne pasta. So I flattened it as much as I could to get it flush with that hole to capture the oxygen. But what's going on, what the reaction should be doing, is when the yeast interacts with the hydrogen peroxide, it's a catalase, so it releases the oxygen from the hydrogen peroxide. And this oxygen will build up in this glass jar, and then it becomes released through that hole, and that initial liquid fuel then reaches the ziti, or in my case penne, the pasta, which is the secondary fuel, and then it will react with the oxygen and create fire. So the cells in the yeast actually contain a catalyst called catalase, and that's what creates or sets off this reaction. So this oxidization of the yeast, or not the yeast, the hydrogen peroxide with the yeast together, creating the oxygen, and then that oxygen comes up, it builds up, creates pressure, and then we have the fire that uses the secondary fuel base, which burns in the presence of oxygen. So you're basically creating an engine of sorts. So yeah, that's it in conclusion. So basically we have hydrogen peroxide, which then creates the water, H2O, and oxygen. And yeast isn't part of the equation because the yeast is actually just a catalyst. It has catalase that will create or set off that reaction. So when that reaction sets off, then the production of oxygen happens, and the pasta here is the secondary fuel in which oxygen, the pasta with the fire, will create an engine. And I think I covered everything. Yeah, the liquid fuel, hydrogen peroxide, is the oxidizer, so that's the oxygen that's coming up, and then the solid fuel of the pasta. So my experiment would have worked a lot better had it actually been ziti. The only problem that I could see why it didn't really catch a good flame, it caught a little bit, but only not that great, just because of that uneven bottom. As you can see, my pasta had some cracks in it, so that oxygen probably got released out the sides a little bit more, so the reaction didn't. Because if this were on fire, as soon as I release it from that oxygen source that's coming up strongly, it would have been not on fire anymore, or not creating the reaction and continuously creating a flame. Okay, so next time I'm gonna get some actual ziti, so it's flush with it. I could get kind of a bolt or something that could hold it in place. I'm not sure if I have one that would fit that exact size, but I might try it again and see if I can get it to actually light on fire. But the reaction is that oxygen that has been oxidized from the hydrogen peroxide in yeast, catalyzed by the yeast itself to create an engine. All right, thank you.